right here on ET now and still just about ambling very in a narrow band. So range bound session. Hindalco looking good. BEL, SBI holding up well. Bharti's back in the green, and yes, Reliance has managed to clock in a fresh 52-week high for itself. 1544 on the stock right now. Tata Motors PV, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Kotak, they're all taking a step back, and TCS Infosys as well, lying a little lackluster today. Both those stocks are also down. Ambareesh Baliga as well joins in on the show right now to talk about what he's making of the market. Ambareesh, just looking at the market texture, continues to be range bound. What's the next trigger point for the market? Would it be the India-U.S. trade deal, or would it have to be then earnings?
No, I mean, we expect the India-US trade treaty to happen soon. I mean, we were expecting it by end of November, but now it seems could be sometime in early December. I think that should be the one big trigger for the markets to again try to move up and move beyond the all-time highs. And I think that's the time the major pain in the market, which is there in the mid cap and the small caps, I think they are the ones which will finally start, outperforming at that point of time. Because today, despite the markets being close to the earlier high, we are seeing that most of the portfolios are bleeding. And because of that, there is a fear that liquidity can become less going ahead in case this thing continues. But my feel is that the trigger would be the US-India trade treaty, and because of which we could see most of the stocks bouncing back. So I would take this as a buying opportunity, especially in the small cap and caps. Again, one has to be selective. One should not be buying just because they have fallen. I mean, buy the stocks where you have confidence, and you clearly know that these stocks are undervalued at this point of time.
Okay, while the India-US trade deal still is a question.
Auto, is that at all something that you're liking in this environment? And also, what within the auto pack are you liking?
In fact, auto I've been liking for a while, and especially post the GST reduction and the sort of numbers which we are seeing, I think will continue at least for a while longer. When I say a while longer, I see that continuing at least for the next quarter or two. And among the auto pack, I clearly like the PVs, especially at the lower end, because of which I would look at Maruti, even at the current levels, and two-wheelers, which is Hero MotoCorp and TVS.
Okay. Kunal, any preferences within the auto pack for you?
Yeah, I think now if you look at Bajaj Auto making a comeback, Hero MotoCorp, I think has been looking very fabulous over the last 3-4 months. Specifically, I think 6,200-ish. There was a high for Hero MotoCorp in 2024. The stock had fallen down to as much as 30-35% in the first phase of the correction. But now the stock has managed to come back again and recover from those 6,200 levels to now almost on the verge of breaking past above the previous highs. You've already seen the likes of Eicher Motors, M&M, Maruti, etc., which have done reasonably well. Ashok Leyland is something which has been very consistent. The stock, I think, is now on the verge of a breakout of yet another psychological break of 150 mark. So that could be interesting, pick over the near term. But I also believe that the indicators for Tata Motors PV are now coming into a bit of an oversold territory. We are at a point where close to 340, 350 mark for Tata Motors PV, the stock which has been a huge underperformer, I think can also start to see some bit of more respite. So my sense is that we are looking at a broad-based rally across the auto packs, right from the likes of performers like Maruti, M&M, etc., even potentially to underperforming zones and underperforming stocks like Tata Motors PV.
Okay, Suntec, that's the one stock which is in focus, Suntec Realty that is. They've received an order from the London Court of International Arbitration confirming the withdrawal of one of the claims and termination of arbitration with its JV, which was to build this ultra-luxury project of pipeline of projects that is, and enter into the Dubai real estate market. Ambareesh, Realty as a pack has been underperforming the last 1 month. And given that every homegrown player is becoming a pan-India player right now, we can see with the kind of move that we're having with all the regional players now entering the Mumbai market, for instance. I'm going to keep Suntec out of this equation. But other than that, what's the Realty name that you're liking at this juncture?
No, in fact, we again start seeing a decent move in the reality space. I mean, we had seen some amount of slowdown again because of extended monsoons also. But I mean, what we see now is sales is actually again picking up. And if you're talking of the Mumbai reality, I think clearly the action is more on the Navi Mumbai side, closer to the new airport. And from that point of view, I would surely look at something like a Godrej Properties. And among the smaller ones, which is specifically for Navi Mumbai, is Arihant Superstructures.
What about you, Kunal? Do you like the Realty pack, and what within the Realty pack do you like?
So not really as of now would go for a contraband real estate names or realty names, but maybe I think over the next 1 week or so, I would sense that many of the indicators would start to become a little bit more oversold. We've seen a huge underperformance for the Nifty Realty Index. We were discussing this in the morning that I think closer to or sub 850, 840 thereabout, for the Nifty Realty Index could be a good zone where traders could look at a contra buy.
Ambareesh, what about IT? Today, of course, some of these names are taking a breather, but the way IT has actually moved this past 1 month, convinced about the fundamentals just yet?
I mean, I would still wait for possibly a quarter more. And more than the performance, I would again wait for the management commentary. Post that, maybe one should take a call. I think the move which we saw in the last 2-3 days was basically because the rupee had weakened beyond 89, and I think that's what has played out. But then it's better to wait at least for a quarter more for the earnings and the commentary.
Some big movers within defense, and Rudra, I wonder if you have a view. Apollo Micro, you also have a BEL, which is doing fairly well for itself. A Zentech is also perked up on the back of an order win, and so is Premier Explosives. Some of these orders coming in thick and fast, and therefore on the fundamental side in focus. Rudra, on technicals, do you like any of these?
Definitely, yes, Apollo Micro looks very strong on the chart. You have already seen a profit booking in this stock from levels closer to that 340-45 zone. Stock has already corrected to the base, and now the support is at around 250 zone. So at current market price and on declines to 260-65 zone, I will be a buyer definitely on Apollo Micro. Keep a tight stop loss of 250, and it should go back to those levels of 340-350 soon. So that is a definite buy. And if you want to pick a stock which is also in F&O and you want to have a larger cap stock kind of a thing, yes, definitely BEL looks much better to me, and stock is also available in futures. So one can definitely go long in BEL. Tight support for this stock is around 400 levels. So at current market price, if you are buying BEL, keep a strict stop loss of 400 and expect levels of around 430 to come initially. And once it breaks that 430-435 zone, which has been a strong resistance, yes, then stock can move towards that 480-500 kind of a zone. So BEL from large cap and in futures if you want to buy, and if you want to take an equity call, yes, Apollo Micro looks good.
Ex-MFI head of HDFC Bank, Mr. Venkatesh Krishnan, has joined Spandana. And as a result of that, let's pull out that stock. The stock of Spandana seems to have seen a bit of a spurt. So you're seeing good traction there. Let me come to you, Ambareesh. Some of these MFI plays, are these at the cusp of a turnaround in terms of asset quality? One, is that what you're sensing, and therefore would they be a good buy at this point, given that we're probably somewhere late in the cycle and the cycle could turn?
Right. Yeah, in fact, I mean, the last 2 years were, I think, one of the worst periods for most of these microfinance companies. And we have seen a decent amount of cleanup also happening. And when we're talking about Spandana, yes, with the new CEO, I think things should turn around.
Okay, that's the take coming in right now on Spandana Spurti. In the meantime, just looking at some of the other active participants. Paytm, let's bring up that stock price up for you. 2.25% lower in today's trading session. But let's just try and bring up the year-to-date chart. It's been quite the turnaround and the revival story. Can it really push up further from these levels is the big question. It's a 21% notch up that you've already seen in 197 communications of Paytm. Kunal, what are the charts reading like?
Yeah, it's been a class outperformer over the last few months. The stock moving initially towards 1350 mark, which was the recent high for Paytm, and now it's this is one of the few months where the stock has gone through a mild correction from the intra-month highs. We need to see whether the stock is able to break past over the 1350 levels or not. because over the last, I think 6 or 7 months consecutively, the stock has been making new highs for itself. And whenever it does, the stock has managed to, at least on an intramonth basis, have shown good performance for itself. So the breakout point for Paytm yet again could be the 1350 mark.
Okay, the breakout point once again could be 1350. Let's take a look at Reliance as well. And, that has been chugging along very nicely. Rudra, let's get in your take on the charts. Comfortable finally above that, well above the 1500 price point. What do you read on the charts for Reliance Industries next?
See, in fact, there are many people who will just see the nifty levels and say that, okay, market is so strong, but definitely there is so much of pain in mid and small cap and in broader market. And nifty is holding strong again only because of Reliance, which is the major contributor in terms of the market cap. So if you see Reliance, yes, from levels closer to that 1375, from where we have seen this move, and now if we cross this zone of around 1550, yes, further up move can be seen in Reliance. And I'm seeing the chart pattern and the accumulations which are happening around, indicators suggesting very clearly that yes, it can close above 1550 very shortly, and any dip in this stock to levels closer to 1500, 510 will be a good entry point. Those who have Reliance, hold on, and if you want to buy it post that 1550 resistance is taken off, then if you buy, yes, more momentum to come, and every dips to levels closer to that 1500, 510 zone will be a clear buy on Reliance.
Okay, that's the take coming in. Reliance Industries holding up well above the 1500 mark, and it's been quite a struggle for Reliance. The outperformance in Reliance amidst the large caps has really sort of come out pretty late in the cycle, one would say. Finally playing catch up, and it's the one which is contributing to the index today as we speak right now. In fact, that said, just wanted to get your sense in as well on Reliance right now, Ambareesh, and I can see quite a few brokerages finally turning their buy on Reliance. You've got Morgan Stanley, they've even upped the target price now to 1700 plus levels.
Yeah, in fact, if you see the last few days, there was some pressure basically because of the Reliance ONGC issue, which had come to fore. But since then, now there's a talk of the Geo platform IPO by March 2026. I think that's what is pushing up Reliance today. But if you're talking of the near future, at least the next 1 or 2 quarters, I clearly see the refining margins moving up still further. And I think that's what should improve the margins for Reliance overall.
Okay. Some of the larger banks seeing some pressure, especially in HDFC Bank, now sinking 1%. Rudra, your take with regard to HDFC Bank on charts, is this an opportunity, this expiry day move, if at all you can call it that?
See, for me, there is sideways chart on HDFC Bank. On the lower end, yes, around 975, 980, you have support for the stock. And again, if you see the higher part of the range, 1020 is a hurdle. So it is just tightly trading in this range of around 975 on the lower side to 1020 on the higher side. So let it give a break either above 1020 or let it come to those support zones of 975 where it's a good buy. In between the range, I just definitely want to avoid taking any trade at current market price on HDFC. But look at charts of IndusInd Bank. So for me, that's a very, very strong chart. Stock has already corrected from levels closer to that 890 zone, and it is now making a cup and handle formation, and you have a very strong base at around 825. So at current market price, it's a mouth-watering buy. Keep a tight stop loss of 825 on closing basis and look at targets of 890, 900 to come on IndusInd Bank, a good risk reward trade from current market price. So IndusInd Bank is much better to me if you want to stay with a kind of a larger private bank. Compared to HDFC Bank, I will still go with IndusInd Bank.
What's your take, Ambareesh, within the larger private sector banks? Do you like any?
In fact, I mean, I like ICICI as well as Axis, but I think at least in the like immediate future, in the sense the next 3 or 4 months, we could see some action in IndusInd Bank. Again, just like Spandana, I mean, we have seen a change of guard at IndusInd. Most of the cleaning up work has been done. So I think over the next 1 or 2 quarters, we should see a decent move up in IndusInd. I mean, I'll not be surprised if we see levels of 1050, 1100 for the stock.
And on IndusInd, materially higher levels is what at least Ambareesh is seeing on the charts. But Kunal, what about ICICI Bank and HDFC Bank? While HDFC Bank finally, along with Reliance, made a good attempt last week, scaled back above the 1,000-odd level, do you see leadership changing hands, or have they already changed hands to PSBs now and out of private banks?
Yeah, I think for now that move is there, but we're getting to a zone where the move is getting a little bit more pronounced towards the PSU banking names, which have performed very well. Private sector banking stocks have underperformed consecutively for the last 3 months with respect to the PSU banking stocks, and the likes of ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, etc. These stocks have struggled. So the large cap private sector banking stocks clearly have been huge underperformers with respect to the PSBs. But then I think there would be a point where the PSU banking stocks would get a little bit more frothy on the short-term charts, and the private sector banking names would come back into a deep oversold territory for themselves. So we'll wait out for that point to happen for the call to change, because that's where you would probably get a little bit more price momentum as well as in terms of the private sector banking stocks.
Okay, just some of the other movers in trade, transformers and rectifiers doing very well. Rudra, do you have a view with regard to this one? It's been a choppy chart, to be honest.
Very difficult to just comment based on the chart, but if you see, it is just definitely falling one side. And for me, the last support for this stock for near term is somewhere closer to that level of 280. So if you are buying at current market price, you have to keep a strict stop loss of 280. And if it has to bounce, it has to bounce from these areas only. Or else I will still avoid buying it at current market price. Let it cross at least levels closer to 320, 330 zone, show some kind of a strength or momentum, or else definitely I will avoid. If someone has it with them, you have to keep a tight stop loss of 280 for the long call on transformer and rectifier.
And Ambareesh, this BLS International, do you like a story like that? It's a differentiated kind of story. They've won an international contract with Embassy of Cyprus for visa outsourcing services, and they do this on a regular basis, try to win such contracts. Is this an interesting story to play? And if at all you've looked at it, are valuations reasonable?
No, in fact, I've not tracked this stock very closely, so it's a bit difficult for me to really comment on that.
That's Kunal that you're spotting.
Not really, I don't track it, so Harsh, I'll skip this.
Okay, that's the take with regard to BLS. Well, nothing really coming through. Let's in fact again switch focus. We've got obviously a few banks which we are speaking about. Kunal, within the private banking pack, what are your preferences?
So amongst the private sector banking names, I would look at in the likes of Axis Bank as maybe a preferred bet, because the stock has been relatively more strong with respect to the peers. But the focus, I think, should be on the mid-cap end of the private sector banking names, where the trend has been a lot more stronger. The likes of Federal Bank, which we were discussing earlier, whether you look at AU Small Finance Bank, RBL Bank, as well as IDFC First Bank. These are the ones which have been relatively far more stronger with respect to their larger cap peers.
Just looking at Apollo Hospitals, they've opened a new 400-bed quaternary care facility in Pune. So that, of course, is one stock which has also been in focus. But, the fact that Apollo Hospitals is a little soft today is immaterial. Look at the way Apollo Hospitals has performed in the last 2 years, or for that matter, any and every hospital name largely. But Apollo Hospitals being the largest of the lot. And Ambareesh, I guess with the hospital names, it's not about whether you should have them in your portfolio. It's really about the valuation and the well-discovered story that they've turned out to be. What if someone wants to take fresh exposure? What should they be doing?
I mean, if you want to improve the health of your portfolio, I think you should surely have hospital stocks in your portfolio. I mean, look at the way most of them, I think nearly all of them have performed, especially in the last 3-4 years. So, I mean, other than Apollo, I would surely say you should have something like a Narayana Hrudayalaya in your portfolio, because here also I see at least over the next 1 to 2 years should get at least about 20-22% sort of a CAGR.
Interesting. Okay. Within the Nifty, again, if I go back there and try and see who the top losers are, Adani Enterprises has slipped now nearly 3% in trade. Trent is down 1.6, so is a Tata Motors PV. Ambareesh, what's the story in a Tata Motors PV? Would you stay away at this point from that play altogether? Because There's just so much headwind to that story at this point.
And because of which we have also seen the stock correcting. I mean, especially, we had seen it correcting. Even like the merged entity, and after the demerger also, we have seen a decent correction. So from these levels, I don't see too much of a downside. Yes, it could test one's patience, but between levels of say about 325 to the current levels, one should be buying slowly at every dip.
Okay, that's the take coming in right now on what's happening in Tata Motors PV, of course. But Kunal, let's get in a check from you on Apollo Hospitals and the likes, and whether you see even a time-wise consolidation, if at all.
No, I think the stock has already gone through a decent correction in the last 1 month. I think broadly from 8,000 to now 7,300. So it's a good 10% correction for Apollo Hospital in the last 1 month. It seems to be now coming back into a retest of the previous supports, a rather mild break towards the previous supports of 7,380 for the stock on the weekly chart. So we'll just wait out for another couple of days. If the stock confirms a break below the 7,380 mark on weekly closing basis, then I think we could be looking at the stock going into a further downtrend.
Okay. Nuvoco Vistas is one stock which has fallen sharply from the day's high. Rudra, do you have a quick view on that one?
Sorry, I don't track that, and charts doesn't indicate to me anything on that. So I will definitely give a skip.
Okay. And restaurant brands, Rudra, do you have a view on that one?
No, in fact, I don't track that sector closely, nor any stocks from that matter. So if you want to specifically read into the chart of restaurant brand, yes, strong support is there at around 60 rupees level. So at current market price, if you are buying, look at targets of 70, 72, but keep a strict stop loss of 60 for this long call.
Again, something which has fallen sharply from the day's highs. But we're 2 minutes from close. Let's see how we're wrapping